Boom. Okay. Cool. All right. So we created a framework last time and we named it BDD Test Automation, right? And then we created ourselves the first test. As you can see, we're using scenario outline in order to parameterize and be able to run multiple data set with the same script running more than one iteration with different row at a time. So this is a table and we name this table as example, and this is just a description. This is not a code. This is not a code. This is also not a code. And so is this also not a code. Anything that comes with given, when, and then, and end will contain some sort of code in order to run this. We have step definition for each one of these. So if you click on it, let's say I'm on Google page, what it is doing is that it is ignoring by using the regular expression, it is ignoring this plain English and instead it's directing back to the code, right? So it's saying whenever somebody calls this, if Cucumber is calling this step using given or end and then any one of those keyword, then go ahead and run this code. Okay, and this is the method is calling basically. So this method has what? This code. So it's going to run this codes. Okay. In here, we learn two things inside of this specific block of code. So the reason I say block is because the starting of the block here and end of the block here. So this is it. Um, it has something called implicit wait. Implicit wait is right here. So we are increasing by default. Implicit wait is I think 5 seconds or something. I don't know. I got to check, but we are increasing our implicit wait to 20 seconds. Now, what is the difference between implicit and explicit wait, right? Or fluent wait. So this is a interview questions that we face all the time, right? Implicit is basically happens during at the driver level, basically. We're telling the driver timeout after 20 seconds, not early, okay? Um, Timeout after 20 seconds if you don't find what we're looking for. That's it. And we're saying globally. We're not saying this element and that element. We're not explicitly saying that, okay, here is the element and we want to wait for that element. We're not saying that. We're saying any element, anything at all. You wait for it. If there is some sort of delay, then make sure you wait at least 20 seconds. So which is really good because otherwise you would write your test and later when you execute, you will see that those tests failing without having a proper idea why. When you see your test failing and it throws exception, it will also confuse you because it may be failing because of no implicit wait is configured for your driver. And now your test is failing and it says random things like, oh, element is not found, element is stale, element has this issue, element has that issue. It will never say, oh, you should have put implicit wait. It will never complain about putting this because it doesn't like, it will give you the exact error message. Error message is happening when you see that there is something is not found. It's because you're gonna have to think about wait. If you wrote the test and it's working for you locally, or if you wrote the test and it's working for you now, but then as soon as you set up this on your partner's computer, your coworker's computer, and they're running on a different OS, and now for them is there are some failures, and you have no failures, that could mean one thing or that could mean a few things. And one thing is that immediate thing that you want to think about is that, okay, that machine must be slow or that machine have some sort of like your machine must be faster than his for any reason. Or maybe he's running something else on the background and he doesn't want to wait because it's taking a little bit longer. So his machine is slower or his browser is slower, either one, and taking a little bit longer for you to run the test, right? And therefore it is taking longer than 20 seconds and therefore it fails. So just know something like that, like how will you troubleshoot it when there is a failure. Also, when you join a company and you see their existing tests, the first thing you should volunteer to do is start running them like one by one. You want to know if it's safe to run at any given time. So you want to say, look, is it safer to run in this environment? Because there is pretty good um, chance that you will mess up something when you run it. So when you run it and that environment is being used also for another purpose, for example, they do their training within that environment, for example, staging. So you're running tests on staging, and they also have training for internal employees that uses the same server. You're gonna mess up something. Somebody's gonna be in the training, and you're gonna run your test, and it will create data, and he will say, "Wait a minute, this why is it this? Right? I didn't update this. Somebody else did." So so just know if it's safer for you to run on demand anytime, to just learn what it is, right? Um, the second one, as you can see, we have string. I mean, this is one of the biggest thing that you guys will see about Cucumber. Notice how we pass on information. This is a keyword. The variable contains the value. So each one of these is value. And Okay, so now these values are populated here. Once the values goes within the step, as you can see, this is a string. The string gets passed on as a keyword, as a value, and that keyword is being passed on here. And therefore, we don't really put anything that is generic, anything that is static. Most of it is dynamic, meaning um, you can take this step, and you can put something else and it'll work. And you probably notice how this test taking more than one thing at a time, and going doing this testing verifications or whatever we need to do. So this is called regular expression right here. This is a regular expression. We're saying we're gonna have a string type. We're gonna have a string for this specific step. Okay, so later, let's say you want to use this step. So I'm gonna create a new scenario, and this is okay. So pending for now, we'll write a appropriate title for this next test and say, look, given, and let's say I want to use this one again, right? So I can say I am, look, notice how it showing up. And notice how it's a string. So if I click on it, boom, it fills it up, but it leaves that as a box and say, hey, you're missing something. Okay, you want to put something in here, right? So now in this case, what we can do is that we can type in and say, like, but remember, it has to be a string. So therefore, it still is upset. So go ahead and put this, and boom, now it's working. So this string is being passed on to the step itself. So it's the same step, right? Same step is going to when I do Command B, by the way, for shortcut. So from here, Command B, and you're able to go directly there and see what is happening. He's taking the keyword and he's entering it, and then he's clicking on return. Um, so this is one of the highly beneficial feature of the Cucumber, right? Why a lot of companies like to use Cucumber is because the reusability, right? Where you're able to see the step and read the step and understand it, and then go into it, you can see the code. So not everybody has to see the code, right? Your BA, um, your product team, they don't need to see the code. They don't care about the code. They can just read, understand that you did the right thing. That's all they need to do, right? But if they have a feedback and say, look, you're missing some scenarios, then they will give you feedback. But that is a very beneficial thing for a company to be able to have not only QA doing their code and nobody understand them, but also write some code that people understands in plain English. So essentially what Cucumber does is allow you to write in plain English and then write your code separately somewhere else, which is called step definition. And we have written step definition in my step right here. As you can see, there's a class. So that is the huge difference between any other framework out there. Um, if you already worked with this framework or wrote some tests or even try to replicate this, you're going to quickly see how easy that is, how well you will fall in love with this. And be able to use IntelliJ and the way that we're using right now um, to run test easily. Oh, another thing, debugging is also much more easier with Cucumber. So we'll touch on that. So any question on Cucumber before we move on to writing our next test case? And by the way, those who are in the market, you'll see a big paragraph that I wrote for you guys in Cucumber. What it is, you'll probably not, you'll definitely not gonna find that paragraph anywhere in the internet, is because that's something that I summarized for you guys. If you can explain that, that is pretty much essentially everything about Cucumber. So even if you didn't learn anything and you're able to explain that specific paragraph, then you are golden, because that's essentially everything. All right, so let's look at the test case today and let's see what we want to do. Um, Today, we're probably going to go into a different website, but also we can, let's see, what should we automate? Loan, okay. Right, so let me just find something easy to go with, and then this is for Wells Fargo. Mortgage calculator, and we did this probably before. I want to do something that is kind of easier for us to just go and write some test cases, not to experiment with something and then spend too much time on talking about something that we don't even intend to teach. 1 second. Rate, mortgage rate. Let's see if this is good. Rate.com. Okay, this is something definitely different than what we dealt with before. So I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to create a new feature here. And then we'll leave it as this. Right click, and we're going to say, right click, new file, right? The reason I click on file, or you can even click on like substep feature, it will put the extension automatically, but I like to do my own. So I'm just going to go ahead and type it in. So I'm going to say rate dot features, right? Feature. That's it. And it created one feature file for me. If I was to click on new and then click this guy, and it would do the same thing. The difference is that you don't have to write dot feature anymore, right? You just write the file name, let's say like example, and it automatically writes feature for you, and it gives you something to start with. Okay, so if you have IntelliJ with proper plugins, and you see this option, you can use that without using file. But either way, it works, right? So I'll go ahead and delete this. Okay, and then so the first thing is, in a feature file, we have these keywords that we have to use. The feature is for objective. What is the goal? Why you doing this? So we're gonna say, as a user, I would like to calculate my mortgage. Calculate my mortgage in order to estimate my cost, right? So I'm just writing something more realistic. So they're writing a little bit more realistic, because when you join a company, you will probably have to do the same thing. So this is just an objective. What is the feature is all about? Remember, feature, meaning the entire feature of this specific thing, right? Not just, okay, I want to check this specific field, right? Feature means is a part of the application. What is feature, right? On the first place, feature is basically anything that does something for you as a whole, right? So if I click on loan option and it takes me here and I can read and I can click on this link, that's the feature of checking out loan options, right? If I click on mortgage calculator and it is able to calculate mortgage for me based on my zip code and my down payment, that is another feature of this website that allows people to calculate their monthly payments, okay, or estimate monthly payments. So just keep that in mind, because that will give you a good idea what feature is. So within features, definitely there's a scenario, right? Because if this is a feature, Maybe one user will have a bigger down payment, right? 52%. What should the system give them? Maybe another user will try to do less than like zero down payment, and if this is going to show or not, right? You see zero and so sorry, we could not find any loan product that meets your scenario. So you need to also check that this message is displaying or not, right? For example, what if somebody wants to pay the entire amount? Then same thing, right? Sorry, I mean, it doesn't even make sense, right? So it should, this message definitely is helpful if somebody is making a mistake. So you see, we already talking about two scenarios in here where people can try minimum and maximum. What happens? Anything in between should be fine. So as you can see, specifically this amount, right? Anything in between this amount. So we don't have to think about how to deal with this specific, going back and forth. We can leave this alone and not have to even worry about this thing. And we can just deal with this guy and this guy, and we will be able to move this based on the numbers. Okay. So, um, so that is one, right? Second thing is that what if somebody wants to try to get 0%, right? With zero payment, or maybe like they're paying higher percentage, but they want zero. They want to pay zero as, that's zero. Okay, zero interest rate, my bad. That's what I meant. Nobody wants to give loan for zero interest loan, right? So there is already three different scenario that we talked about, and all of them are negative or positive. Who wants to answer that? The scenarios that we just talked about, are these negative or positive? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Jonathan.
Okay. So who wants to answer this question? The scenarios that I just talked about here, are these negative or positive?
Positive.
Think about what is negative, right? Just tell yourself what is negative on the first place. We talked about negative is when we try with test data that is unexpected or invalid or negative test case, right? Negative data. So what is negative? So in this case, if I'm trying something that is unexpected, which is zero down, right? If I'm trying something with like all entire 100% down, or if I'm trying with zero interest rate, what are these? If I'm trying with less than negative number
Negative.
here, right? -1 is still a negative here, right? So you're definitely negative, right? Because you guys have to understand what is negative and positive test cases. If you know the definition, then it's easier for you to kind of tell yourself, okay, if this is that, therefore it must be negative. Or if this is this, then it must be positive. So anything and everything that moving forward, we will make a decision, or we will kind of come up with an answer. It's always going to be a educated guess. You're not going to do a guess, just say, okay, no, it's positive, and that's it. Even at work, moving forward, and I'm going to give you this piece of advice. Nobody knows everything, right? Nobody knows everything, right? There are some people that know a specific thing very good, right? They learn it, they know it, and that's it. But they most likely don't know everything about everything else, right? So when you make a judgment, when you are telling people something, you make the best possible guess that you can, right? And then just tell them, and then with maybe adding to say, okay, that must be this, right? You don't have to say it is this, right? If you are not sure. But at work, when you are talking, you'll see many times where they come up with your recommendation. So, and right away, um, you may have to give an answer. So then you can just say pretty much, okay, this is how it's going to be. I can give you more details, but so far I feel that this is how it will be. So you analyze the situation, you understand what it is that it can lead to, and then you give them an educated guess, right? Otherwise, you're going to be always that person who feels like, okay, I don't know anything at all. Like Nobody knows anything. Sometimes I also give answer based on analyzing, okay, understanding what it is, and similar situation, what would happen with another, let's say, um, another type of maybe another, like I dealt with similar things, and then based on that previous experience, how this will fall into, right? And then I just give my educated guess, right? And 80-90% of the time is correct, right? And I also know that there is a high chance that I am correct, but there is that 20% of the time that I am not correct, right? And I'm okay making that mistakes. Like there are plenty of times where I had coworkers came back to me and say, hey, you told me this, but unfortunately, it's not the case. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, tell me a little bit more, so that means, yeah, he did his research and he comes back and say, okay, look, it's not the case. Okay, no problem. Let's talk about it and let's see, what is difference. And just learn it and then just tell him, okay, thanks for finding it, and that's it. And he will move on with his life. Don't try to argue or anything like that. So, all right. So in this case, you guys could have made some educated guess based on what the number is, right? Like zero. Who's gonna try zero and who's gonna try the entire amount, right? That means same as paying cash, right? All right. So we'll take this URL and we're gonna go ahead and write out first. So scenario one, and we're gonna say verify that when a user to do zero down payment, zero, right? Down payment. It shows an user friendly message, right? If you know for sure that we have zero, like we should never have zero, like we should never have zero here. And we should, like, if you know 100% that no company out there giving loan with 0%, obviously I don't think so. That is impossible. Nobody's gonna give you this much money and say, okay, zero, like zero down payment, like sorry, I'm sorry, maybe like interest rate is impossible, like zero, right? But sometime down payment, like especially at this year of the time, you still have to come up with something. Like 0%, I didn't see any company out there saying, okay, you know what, zero down payment, unless maybe even if you're a veteran, you still get a low percentage for down payment. So for my company, let's say I work for this company right here, and I say, okay, in my experience, zero should never bring any. It's like almost like calibrating, right? So zero should never bring any product, period, because I know there is no zero. So then that's a good test to create, because when I create a test to check if I enter zero and no matter what number it is here, it shows this message. That means our calculator is still functioning properly, and it is showing this message for an appropriate reason, for the valid reason. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So this is a good way to kind of calibrate or see if your calculator for financing home mortgage is calibrated already, or at least working properly. So I just said user-friendly message just to say, hey, this is not available, right? So now I'm gonna say, given I am on the mortgage calculator page, right? So you're on the mortgage calculator page. When I enter, I'm gonna leave that empty, right? When I enter this and down payment, okay, when I enter these two, down payment, and right, so when I enter this down payment, then I should see, and I'm gonna leave the C also, right? What can we see? Because then this message we can reuse other places too, because it doesn't say what element, right? So it's not tied to a specific element. So notice immediately we got ourselves 3 steps to do the first test case. And that test case, as you can see, has no step definition. There is 2 ways we can go, like last time we talked about. The first is click on the light bulb, boom, and then it says create a step definition. The second one is you just simply run, and this is called dry run in Cucumber. When you do the run, you're gonna see that it's giving you what do you have to write. Okay, so it's giving you the steps. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy those and make the step definition. Copy, and so as you can see, my step contains all of it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and paste it in my step at this point, and we will then create the step definitions. Command V, boom, right? And now you can see that it came with some extra codes that we don't need. Throw exception for pending. We don't need this because, you know, it's no longer pending, right? We're gonna write our test. There are a few things. For example, here it says I enter a string, right? This is not a string, right? I enter like it's a number, right? It's a number. But unfortunately, when you enter through send keys, it's actually expecting string, so it is still fine. Okay, so we can pass on a string to enter. So now okay, so all right, so the first thing first is this line. So I'm gonna go ahead and write something here, and we have to have driver, right? Remember, we got our driver right here. Driver is already initiated here, and then we create the driver and so, right? So let's copy up to this much system. Okay, so we have to actually take this whole thing, and then okay, and then we just change this URL to this. And now, like, one of the things that you should be ringing a bell is that we are duplicating this, and we are duplicating like pretty much the whole thing we're duplicating here, right? Why not just create a separate class and use it from that class? You know, that's probably what we should do, right? We shouldn't like duplicate. So let's isolate the driver first, and then we go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new class here, Java class, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say driver. Oh, D should be capital, right? It's not going to work. Refactor, rename. Okay, so then we got ourselves a driver here, and then what we can do is public WebDriver, I think WebDriver, and then we're gonna give it a name, driver. Okay, and 1 second. So we got ourselves a WebDriver. Public WebDriver is the return, right? So okay, so for now I'm gonna make it void, so this Java thing compiles, and then we'll okay, so return, we gotta add a return. Okay, there we go. For now, return null, but we will go ahead and add this later. So we take our existing code, this code right here, okay? And we'll probably take this too. We need to, okay, so we take it here and put it in here, right? As you can see, driver is upset. So we're gonna say web. And so we just gotta say WebDriver right here. That's it, it's no longer upset. And return, we're gonna say driver, right? Return is driver, and that's it. So it will give us a driver return, and we pretty much put it. Okay. Okay, return driver. So one thing I don't like is naming the method is the same as the class name. It confuses people. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it a browser. right? And this is because this is a Chrome browser. I'll say Chrome browser, right? But we can change that to a specific browser. We can change it. We did that before, so today we're not going to do that, but we can make it however we want. So now if we go back to our step definition, as you can see, do we really need all of these? I don't think so, right? Do we need this guy? I don't think so. And now the driver is upset, so we will say something here, for example, extends, and we're gonna say driver. Okay, so driver. So we're extending driver at this point, and then we want to say something. We have to create like we have to create an instance of the driver itself, right? So I'm gonna say driver is, okay, driver, I'm gonna say is this guy driver, right, is equal to new driver, right? I can remember this. And we're still not done because this whole driver is not the whole thing, right? So this driver, we have to say driver dot, right? We have to pretty much, oh, what's happening? Okay. Hold on a second. What is happening? Driver. Okay. The whole class, we did that. Within class, we need to call the browser. So, oh, the driver, okay. So now if I say, okay, just let's say D for now, and then D dot, oh, it's not giving me. Public class driver extends object. Okay, 1 second. Okay, we got that there. Equal, okay. Oh, no wonder, okay. So if I am calling this, new driver, I did that already, okay. New driver is new driver equal to new driver. Extending driver. Okay, maybe it should be, it's not liking it here because, 1 second, I gotta move this. It's in the same package. I'm gonna move this somewhere else. I'm gonna put it in Java 2 package. I'm gonna have to make, let's see, utility utility. Refactor, yes, move this to utility. Okay, this is our utility. This is browser, okay. Okay, 12 related problems. Okay, so that's good, it's fine. So we move that there, and that's where it should be actually, but let's see. We have to call it from another package. We got this, D dot, still not, still upset about it. 1 second. Okay, access modifier public. Okay. All right, you guys. So somebody should have caught this, right? All this time I'm trying to access something within the class. I was able to access the class, right? But I was not able to access the method within the classes because we didn't have any access modifier, right? So access modifier are these in Java, right? For some reason I forgot to do that, and now I'm going to add public to it, right? So now I should have access to this. Even if I move it back, it should be fine. But let's see if this is kind of get upset. All right. The dot. Okay, so it's in the new package, different package. Okay, let me see. So now we have to, because we're doing another package, we have to import import okay, import, and then class, I believe, dot driver, the model dot, I guess everything. I gotta see how do I import this specific, because it's in a different package, right? So I should be able to do the importing. Let me see real quick. Google search. Package UTI LITY utility. Still not able to unexpected token. Okay. Okay. For the time being, I'm gonna move it back, and then we'll figure this out in a second. I don't want to take too much time. Okay, so let me go back there. Refactor. Okay. So we're gonna move that back in a second, right? So I just want my whole test to work, and then we go from there. Okay. So now d dot still not able to. What's going on? Okay. We got the driver pack thing. Driver. Right. So you see driver right there, and okay. So that is driver. And we're gonna say d is equal to new driver acceptance. So d dot something. Okay, so let me see. Let me go back in here. Driver related problems is, this is very weird because, okay, so oh, this is fine. Public driver. We got a return already. Okay, we'll come back to the return later. I will remove this for now. Public void. Just want to see if that changes anything. It didn't change anything at all. Okay. 1 second.
Joel, should I return driver or browser?
Where? You might be right. 1 second. Let's see. It's supposed to return the, okay, so maybe returning the browser, because browser is the name of the method, right? So public void, instead of void, we have to say WebDriver, right? Web, because that is the WebDriver. So WebDriver, and this is the WebDriver type, and we get a variable that is WebDriver type, right? And then all I'm saying is return the driver. right here. If we do, we can probably do the whole return, this whole thing as a return. Um, oh, and then these should not be here. We have to move this. Return driver, browser. See our browser. Okay. So code. Okay. Ooh. Okay. What's the Okay, so that is in here. I'll just do this B. Is a browser B or it's a browser? Okay, that's good. What is this timeout? We don't really need this here. WebDriver is fine. Okay, so let's quickly take a look one more time, and then we will have to move forward. Okay, so this is our driver. I'm gonna change the name, this whatever, because I don't know if this is interfering with browser. Therefore, we gotta change the name to here. So we got a browser, and then we're gonna say Chrome browser, driver, public WebDriver, Chrome driver, and then we did do this, right? WebDriver is equal to driver, blah blah. I should say return this. No. Okay. And then we go back. Browser. Extend BR. Don't know, it's your browser. Okay. That's extending browser. Let's see, driver is out. Perfect. Okay. Then we want to say browser equal to equal to new browser. Okay. Second, no, I'm looking at the wrong place for this second. Oh, okay, there we go. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna. Sometimes I make so it's a small mistake, but it's like okay. All right. So now that we have our driver, right, I'm gonna move that over there back inside of the utility, and now try to do the same thing. Once that is done, we go back here and just want to see if that still works. Chrome dot, and yep, it's working. Okay, so as you can see, our test code is separate, utility is separate in Java utility package, but then our test code is here. Okay, so now if we go back to the utility real quick, all it's doing is creating a Chrome browser. Okay, and it's just simply saying, okay, this is where the browser should be, and return the driver, right? So now if this is a driver return, then we go back to our, now we got to fix our test, right? So notice everything has driver. So we're gonna say Chrome browser, right? And this is basically the driver. Okay, so this is pretty much the whole driver. So we can say driver is equal to, right? So we can just leave this maybe we have to create an instance actually, because this is a web driver, right? So web driver. Oh, okay, so instance variables there. We're gonna say driver is equal to this, and this solves all the problems. That's it. It's same as before. The only thing is different is the driver is no longer here, right? Driver is coming from this location. Okay, and as you can see, everything else is fine. Driver.get. Now this is our step, right? So this is where we don't really need to do nothing, none of these again, right? And that's it. We should have our step working. Any question on this? All right, so go ahead and run this. These two will say undefined, but at least the first one should be running. Once it's running, then we will go ahead and write the definition for that. Okay, what's happening? Okay, what does this do? It says driver dot get find when driver could be null. Find why driver could be null. Okay. Right. Driver return null for some reason. So driver. Oh, okay. We have to say this on the other one too, because it didn't run that specific code. Boom. So maybe we should leave that outside. No, outside is not gonna work. Okay, so we have to actually do this for our initial step, right? We have to initiate the driver. Before, the reason why it failed just now is because we're saying web driver is equal to driver, but then it is not, we're not setting the driver that we just gonna create through this. We're not calling the method. Only this one is able to call the method, right? So so here, the reason it failed because we didn't call it, right? So we have to call it. All right. Now if I run it, it should be fine. All right, and it's opening and we're good to go. Okay, so the next thing is our test case is to enter a down payment, correct? So let's go ahead and undo the commenting out. We remove the code here, and then we go into we are going into right here. So we have a choice, right? If I say this 0, then it becomes 0 automatically. If I say this 0 automatically. So I'll see which field I want to work with. I'm going to do inspection, and just to see if any one of these is suitable for me to work with. In this case, look how crazy this is, right? We got a div. Instead of that, we have our self text input, which is this one, but then it has a placeholder that is nothing. Size is 4. That means it doesn't take more than 4, right? So we can also test that. So that is that, right? So we can probably use the class name, but I want to see what's going on with this one. Maybe we can use this better. And let's see. Okay, this is also numeric input and then scale text. Okay, so we probably have to go with the class name, right? So if you guys remember how to create a, so I'm going to take this class name. I'm just going to test it down here to make sure that it works. Okay, so as you can see, it's 20 matches. So I'm going to put a dot front of that to make it a CS selector. And now we have still 20 matches. So every single one of them is the same class, right? So now let's see what is the next class that we can pick out. So we chose this. Which one is actually is different for this specific field, right? Because this is one of the challenge that you will probably face at some point at work is that, look, nothing that I can use here will probably work. Now, if DIIU, or this is another class name, so I'm going to copy this. And if this class name happened to be unique, it's still not unique. Okay, look. So because of the situation like this, where you have nothing, you right click and you copy the selector and just analyze and see what's really happening. You see how ugly that is. It's crazy big and ugly, right? But if you take out the front, right, unnecessary ones, you see two, right? There's two that is working. So now that must be because you took out other one too. So you just get rid of this ones, and that is one of one, right? So you kind of test yourself and see how do you make your selector much more simpler and nicer and smaller, right? And more reliable. So in this case, as you can see, the other selectors that I had, none of them were unique. Nothing that we have here is unique, right? So we're able to take a selector from the browser that created for us, and then we cut it short to make it work, still make it work. Okay, so this is the one. As you can see, nothing is unique about this, right? This is gonna change. This thing will change all the time. This is not even, this is, if this was at least somewhat different, we could have used regular expression, right? Anyway, so we'll use this to enter the value. So this is where we enter. So we're gonna say driver dot find element by dot CSS selector, and then we're gonna say this is our CSS selector. Send keys, and we want to set a string. Always give a very nice name, relative name to your variables. Okay, so now if this is done and I run it again and I enter, let's say 0, and let's just quickly see before we go into the next expectation. Okay, so most likely what happened is we need to clear this, okay, because it didn't do what we were asking it to do, right? So we're gonna say, I'll take this up to this much. 1 second. Make it a better web element. So notice what I did. I cleared it and then I, but the other thing is that maybe it was too fast. So I want to see if this information is there. Okay. I want to see if this information is there before I proceed. So I'm going to do a verification here, is that I'm going to say assert, and I'll do JUnit at this point, JUnit assert equal, or assert true. And I'm going to say driver dot get page source dot include dot contains, I think, contains something, right? So contains like expected title or expected or header text, right? So now this is red. So what do we have to do? Is just create what are we expecting. We're expecting this text, correct? I'm gonna copy this real quick. All right, so true. This is just to make sure, and it will wait up to 20 seconds, as you can see. So this is definitely going to be beneficial. Okay, so let's go ahead and run it real quick. Okay, so this time it did the trick, right? It cleared it and then it entered because the previous information was not there. And you guys probably noticed one thing is that, sorry, we could not find blah, blah. This text, we're going to do a validation. The problem is that it's taking a little bit of long time to validate, but okay, we'll see. How do we test this? So now this is a very small thing, right? These are very small steps because it's going to look like very much same like this. Look at this, boom. And then we're going to say expected text, right? And that's it. We're done this step. If this didn't make sense to you, definitely let me know. Okay, so that's done. We go back in here and you're gonna say, what do we should see? So we just take this text, okay? And we just put it in there, copy, and we put it like this, boom. So the whole text, and it's pretty long, but you know, I don't mind going this way straight. So now we run it. What we should be seeing, it should pass the test. If it doesn't, that means we have a problem with the loading situation. As you can see, 0, come on, 0, 0, okay, and boom. And it still failed. I think it checked immediately for that text, okay? And I should see sorry, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't find that sorry thing, right? So we're gonna be more specific, but first we want to also say, okay, close the browser. We gotta fix our previous test too, right? That make sure that they work, okay? Because whenever you write a test, is a good practice to make sure that everybody else's test, your coworker's test is still passing when you are writing your test. I'm gonna remove this dot. Sometimes the dot creates an issue. And secondly, I'm gonna inspect this text to make sure that they are, you know, in a way that it is a single paragraph, not a different different things, right? So let me show you something. So if I take it from here, in theory, it should work, right? If I copied it from here. So I don't know, maybe the case sensitiveness, the way it displayed here or something. But we can also say red error alert, right? We can also be more specific about that, right? Because what's happening here is that maybe this red arrow icon did not display and we were already checking for the text, right? So there's more than one possibility, but first I'm going to go ahead and copy the exact string from here. If I can, first of all, let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and edit as HTML, boom. Okay, that's probably better. Copy this, and then I will go ahead and replace the whole thing just to make sure that I copied correctly before I go ahead and start fixing things. It's always good to double check to make sure that you got everything correct. Okay, and then I'm gonna do another thing, and then after that we will fix it. So 0, this, and then done. Okay, so this time still failed, and I feel like this must be a issue with the waiting. So let me just go ahead and create a waiting step. Okay, so and I will say here and I wait. I'm not gonna say how long, so I'm gonna say and I wait this many seconds. Seconds, right? So now, and this is gonna be an integer. So if I say 1 second, then it should wait 1 second, correct? So let's go ahead and create the steps. Okay, so notice it's a string. I'm going to say int, and this is a int. So this int should be okay, and then we're going to say seconds, and I'm going to say thread dot sleep. I'm going to say seconds multiply by the so this takes milliseconds, correct? So if I want to make that number as a, if I want to take a second and make it into millisecond, I got to multiply by 1000, correct? So that's what I have to do. And that's it. Now it's upset because it needs this specific thing. And that's it. So step is done. We go back in here and we see we're waiting for 1 second. Let's see. And then I wait. There you go. NT. Boom. And that's it. For INT, it doesn't need the you see double quote, so that's why it's kind of was pretty much upset. So if I run this real quick and it passes, that means it must be an issue with timing, and then we'll remove this specific thread.sleep thing and have a better solution. Okay, it passes, right? So this 1 second of wait actually made a big difference on how we're checking things. So if we do an explicit wait here, to make sure that it waits for something like some element. So what's on this page that we can wait for, like something like this? Let me see the red alert. If we are expecting red alert and we wait for red alert, then maybe we're fine, right? Then we don't need the sleep. But at least we learned something new, how to create a reusable sleep, right? So you can take this literally everywhere and just put 1 second, 2 seconds, at least 3 seconds to wait if you need to. All right, so then, okay, let's see. Quite, okay. Any question, guys? Because we just finished one test case. Any questions? Everybody's good? Okay. Let's go into the next test case, because all 3 test cases that we talked about today, you're gonna see now, like let's say your coworker wrote this and you're writing the next test case, which is the same thing, right? Which is, it's a lot of copy and pasting will be now at this point because you already got it. So what if you have 0? If you have 0 interest rate, okay, so you want to keep up to at least this much, right? So you're gonna say verify 0 interest rate gives an user, right, a friendly message, right? And then given, what do you think I will say here? Given I am on, right? I'm on the mortgage calculator, right? Then when I enter interest rate, then I should see something. I should see the same thing, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and copy these 3 lines. Okay, these are the same thing, but this is the only step I have to write. So do you see the benefit of Cucumber, where you're able to reuse almost 90% of the thing? This is the only thing that you have to create on your own. So we'll create that just now. Create as the definition, my step, and here we're gonna say this is a number. So, but it's still a string. So we're gonna say rate. I'm gonna say browser. Driver dot find element. In this case, it's going to be similar because this web application is harder to deal with. So we're going to say something like, we're going to go with CS selector because nothing else probably would work in here. So this is your input. It doesn't even have like an ID or nothing, right? it has type. Type is number. This is also a number type, so it's not going to work. So I'm going to right click from this and I'm going to copy the selector and then I'm going to test it. I'm going to test the selector to make sure that it works up to that point. So the whole thing, let's see if I go into this, we don't need the container portion, and still 1 of 1, which is good, right? So still a better, like, okay, let's see, still a better selector. Let's see if we don't need this thing. What if I don't need, okay, if I don't need this up to this much, and still 1 of 1, so still good. This is a good selector. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and take this. You guys see what I'm doing, right? With the selectors. So this is still a good selector, small, relatively small, that you can use. All right, so I'm gonna do send keys here. And I need to provide rate, right? So RATE, but remember what happened before. So we have to kind of handle it that way. So since we already know what happened before, we're gonna say rate field is equal to this. Okay, and then we want to say rate field that and rate field dot clear. Okay, so that's pretty much it, right? We got clear, we got these and keys. So now that took place, we can now put 0 and our everything else is same, correct? Because we need to, second, too many things going on. Oh yeah, I can just probably put it right here. No, do not disturb. There we go. Boom. Or perfect. All right. So now if I run this, I have pretty much good confidence that it will work. Same as the other one. Okay, this is unnecessary. So let's see. Go ahead and run it. Interest rate, clear. Come on, clear and 0. Okay, it didn't clear or nothing. It's kind of didn't work. So let's see what happened. Sorry, we can, okay, blah, blah. So somehow it didn't enter not anything, right? So I'm gonna put a wait right before that because this is gotta be a wait issue and we have to put some sort of expectation before. So if we just did a page check, because it takes a little bit of time. Oh, look at this. It didn't even clear it. It added a 0 right next to it. Okay. That's what's happening. Okay. So we don't need this one, but let's go ahead and clear. Okay, so we did clear. What? And then it still didn't work. Okay, we just have to. So what we can do is maybe we need to. Okay, before entering, let's see. 2 seconds still. I don't understand why it should not clear. It's just probably very fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, go. Clear, clear, clear. Yeah. Let me see if it's not clearing. Okay, it does clear. Interest rate clear. Okay, so what I can think of is the selector most likely. If I take this copy and then this is the input, exact input, copy selector, 2D4. deep input. Okay. The same one. We got rate field dot clear. Okay. So what I'm gonna do real quick is system dot, okay, no, never mind, rate field dot get text or get attribute. So if this is an attribute, I'm just gonna write some Java to bring the value of this. So this is right now it has now value. So if I enter something, if I enter something, it goes to where? Let me see. Still value is nothing. 66 type is number. Okay, so this is getting text. Okay, get text. Okay. If okay. Dot. It's more than one. If this happens, then I want to clear. Rate field dot clear and that's what I'm gonna do and continue. Okay. So I don't know if you guys noticing this, but let's see. Let me just go ahead and run it. I'll explain in a bit. Somehow this field is not being cleared, right? So it could be also the way that the field was created. So, and it enters 0 somehow, but it doesn't want to clear the field. That's what's kind of messing up the test, right? And the stuff that I just wrote, it didn't really work. How do we do this for here? Let me see, down payment. We're clearing it, the exact same thing, clearing it, and that's it. It's working. Okay. So let's see. Web element rate field, WebDriver find element, blah blah, input. If rate field is this, then clear. We did the clear. While rate field is this, then continue to do this. Okay, so we're doing a while loop. This should kind of help, but let's see. So it's gonna try more than once. Let's see. 2 point. Okay, that's a decimal. Okay, that's a decimal field. But then it should kind of. What's so special about this field that is not doing this thing? So remember, you at work will have very similar situation where you kind of things just doesn't make sense. Like, why is it not clearing, right? So, like for example, value. Oh, there we go. Value. What the hell? Okay. So this is the. So all this time I didn't know if this was a value. So now if this is the value, then we want to clear value, right? So because and we have to do Selenium clear value, not text, right? So let's see Selenium clear value, clear text area. Let's see. So clear simply works there. So clear for us is not working. So it says, so we got solutions here, right? Some people are saying, okay, go ahead and do keys.delete. Keys.delete, blah, blah. Okay. So So we'll try this method, okay? Real quick, because all of the other ones we kind of, so send keys.delete, and this time we're using keys from the keyboard to make this work. We don't really need this. Okay. See, notice how fast that just took place. Okay. I wonder. So nothing works for this specific field. Okay, that's a challenge there. Okay, 1 second. And most likely this will be our last test case, and I'll let you guys finish with the other one. But at least it's a good way to kind of learn from this one. Okay, so keys.delete didn't work. Now we're gonna go back to our search, right? We did a Google search real quick, and it says, so backspace, I almost am sure this will work, right? Because it works for us as a human, right? When we click on it. But this guy says, example in loop, right? Do it repeatedly, right? And experts or people that are dealing with Selenium out there, they have solutions. Like, for example, this guy said do it repeatedly, meaning that deletion of this is not gonna, it's not up to Selenium. Selenium is not even able to handle it. So now we're gonna just say, we're gonna loop it and say, as long as you see a value, delete it. So this seems like is a perfect solution to me, but we will then see what happens. Okay, so this time we do send keys, backspace. Okay, and send it says repeatedly. Let's see if we need it repeatedly. If we do not need it repeatedly, then we will not create it. But let's see, run it. If that's still giving us an issue, then we will go ahead and create a loop and run it under loop. So, wow. It did clear for a second and then it showed up again, right? Something really is making this so if I do a backspace here, right, delete one, right, if I do return, okay, if I do delete, boom, so I have to keep on deleting until it's nothing, right? So not just one delete, right, it has to clear the whole thing. So notice delete 1, delete 2, delete 3, delete 4. Okay, so that's many times I have to do. So now I have to write a Java program to do that. So backspace, instead of backspace, I do have to use delete. Okay, delete is fine. And I'm going to say, I'm going to have to create a loop, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do rate field dot get attribute. And I'm going to say in here value. Okay. So get attribute with value definitely is the right choice here, and that's it. So we get this, and this is the value, right? So actual value is this, and value we'll put it into a string. All right, is equal to this. So if this is the case, we're gonna say if. Okay, we're gonna say. Okay, so I is equal to 0. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna say for loop, right? So remember int I is equal to 0. Okay, so if value dot length is less than I, then I plus plus while incrementing this. You guys remember this loop? And we will like to see, we like to basically do more than once. So that should address this issue. I think length, we don't need this, right? Do we? Oh no, we do. I thought we didn't. Okay. So let's see now. So it should go in and like delete one character at a time, and based on how many character there is, it should delete that many characters. Oh, holy crap. Okay. This is making me more upset here. That specific field, for some reason, is pretty difficult to work with. Let's see. Field dot send keys and keys dot delete. So if I did this, okay, let's do another thing. The other thing that we will have to do is using JavaScript executor. Okay, so this is the last resort thing that just in case, let's say something is not working, like what we're experiencing right now, right? JavaScript executor works in a way that it works like it just works like it's going back and back of the thing and just deleting or removing things that you want, right? It's not really doing it. How do I say? It's not doing it. It's not mimicking user, right? It's no longer mimicking user. Okay, so let's write a JavaScript here real quick. So in order for us to execute, we need to call the class called Java, JavaScript. As you can see right here, this is one class. So we'll have to call that, and we give it a name like JS is equal to Java. Again, the same thing. Let's just copy this, and then we need to provide the driver information. So our driver is driver, and it's done, right? So now we got this going on. Then we want to say js.execute. So execute. We got two methods, so I'm going to use the second one. We don't need asynchronized. And here we're going to put our JavaScript, right? And this should do it. So now one of the good thing about that is that if we are adding a JavaScript, we can actually test it here before we even run it. So we know for sure it will work. So if we do this, right click and we say copy JavaScript path, boom. And now we have ourselves the entire JavaScript path. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this unnecessary stuff. Okay, this many line, and then I'm gonna go into our console. I'm gonna execute it to make sure it works. Boom, it's working. It found the input. So how do we clear a field with JavaScript? So this case, if you don't know just JavaScript, you don't know much of a JavaScript, then all we gotta do is clear field JavaScript, right? So JavaScript will give you pretty much give you multiple ideas, but here what it says, if you want to clear it, you see how value is. Let's see. Input value is equal to nothing. That's it. as easy as it can be, right? Value is equal to nothing, and you're good to go. So okay, so go back in here, and we just simply want to do value is equal to nothing. That's it, right? Boom. So notice it worked here, right? It worked, therefore it should work over there. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this, and I'm gonna go ahead and enter it right here, and we are golden. Okay. And that's it. Notice how IntelliJ helped me to get this scape. I don't really need it. If I put a single code, I don't really need it, but we're good to go. At this point, it should work. But if it doesn't, then we will have to do other things, right? So you may never know, right? So at least we should see that's clearing up. Okay, it cleared, right? And notice like how, like what's happening is that it's definitely is refreshing the page. When you refresh, remember, it will automatically give you some number. See, when it refreshes, automatically will put some number. So I don't know why this page is refreshing. Oh, okay. Okay, let's see. I want to see the effect, why this is happening. So I'm going to put the 3 seconds wait. I'm going to run real quick and then see. Okay, waiting. Why? This is really strange because we were able to do it for this field and now this field is giving us this much trouble. So let's see if we have advanced option here. More insurance, okay, those not needed. Okay, 2.87. Okay, I don't want to make this class too lengthy, right? Let's start with questions. In the meantime, I'm working on it. Anybody with questions? Let's cover those questions before we finish the class for the day. Okay, let's see. Notice how like this line it's crazy because it's working for us when we run this line through the JavaScript executor. Okay, but then it doesn't, somehow it refreshes the page, right? Okay, let's see. Okay, okay. Okay, I may be able to do something here. That may help to kind of focus on that specific field. Oh. Oh, look at this. So, wow, this is just crazy, right? After spending half an hour on a problem, we have a solution. All right. The solution is simply on clicking. Like, notice how we say, text field, we don't click on them. But sometimes if you don't click on them, they are not focused. Therefore, this is not editable. Like, you cannot edit this without clicking on it. If you click on it only, then it becomes active, and then you can edit, delete, and things like that. So JavaScript executor, while it was good when we learned it, I'm gonna comment it out, and I can just simply use Claire, and it will also work. Okay. So that was a good experience for a lot of us, right? Let me see. I don't need this anymore, and it should be working. So we got ourselves 2 test cases today in Cucumber, and we reviewed, and we went as much as we can in details. Oh, okay. So I guess JavaScript executor was the one that we need to use. Okay. Or is it because I removed this second? So we need to know for sure what it is that's causing this, and then go from there. Okay. So JavaScript executor it is. So we need to put that back in. The clear is not working for this field. Everything else is. So we are good to go. Just simply gonna go ahead and run this without this wait. And if this is fine, then we are done for the day. We'll go to questions in about a minute or two once we get this figured out. Okay, there you go. Perfect. Okay, that's it. So what did we do here, right? To resolve this problem is that we are using JavaScript executor to say, look, go ahead and make the value is equal to nothing. That's it. Simply that. The value is pretty much if you go in here, inspect it, and let's just do an inspection here. As you can see right now, the value is 2.87. So we're saying value, just make it into nothing. That's it. Simply nothing. Just like this. As you can see, it will go ahead and clear out the values here. All right. So that's 2 test cases you guys can practice. If you just simply follow, if you got up to this much and if you simply follow this, then you'll be fine. You're going to be able to create it. For those who are in the market, okay, so let's stop recording so people can use this later.